a lover from the bride was the daughter of the lover from Dehradun, Shatrughan Kumar. He also stayed with Baba many a times in ashram. And when Baba was in New Life and when he went to Dehradun, Shatrughan Kumar met Baba, and he was an atheist. He didn't believe in God. And when he met Baba, oh, he just couldn't help saying Baba, Khuda Baba. His mother always used to say that I was so surprised when my son was so enamored by a master. So she was wondering who that man must be. So she also came along, and the wife also came along, the whole family. It's a wonderful family. But this girl, Amrit, was just a small baby. So they thought that it was this baby. Baby was lucky that she brought them to Baba. And years later, Baba thought of her as the bride of his nephew Dara, Baba's nephew Dara. So it was Baba who arranged the marriage. I mean, the boy and the girl did not find each other, but it was Baba who found the girl for the boy and the boy for the girl. So he arranged a marriage in December, and the day was fixed. So there were 2 days. On the first day, that was on 22nd December, Mera's birthday was celebrated. And on 23rd, Dara's wedding was celebrated. I mean, there wasn't any celebration, but I'll tell you what I mean by celebration. Well, Baba called about 200 very intimate ones for those 2 days. For Mera's birthday and the wedding of Dara and Amrit and the Navjot ceremony of 4 children. Do you know what is Navjot ceremony? No. In our Zoroastrians, when children, boys or girls, when they come of age, say between 7 and 10, their Navjot ceremony takes place. The priest performs the ceremony. He puts on the sadra. Baba wears a long sadra, but we Zoroastrians wear short sadra. So the priest puts on the sadra on the child, chanting prayers. And there's a kasti, that's a thread-like thing, wound around the waist. It goes from the front to the back, again from the front, again to the front. It's knotted in front and again knotted at the back. So that's a great ceremony, like the wedding ceremony. And so many people are called. So naturally it was a ceremony, and we intimate Baba lovers did not believe in this ceremony of Navjot, from what we experience and learn from Baba. But children have to face the world. Naturally, other children would ask, did your Navjot take place? And if the child said no, then naturally the child would be ridiculed. So Baba was so practical. So in order to make easy for children, Baba used to perform the ceremony of Navjot, but not the regular ceremony. So the 200 were congregated on those 2 days because the family of those 4 children whose Navjot ceremony was performed by Baba, then the family of the bride, bridegroom, and very, very intimate lovers of Baba. So in all there were about 200. So on 22nd was Mera's birthday, and people of course stayed in Nagar, Ahmednagar, in the guest house, and they all came in the morning. And Baba was brought in onto the veranda from his bedroom. Baba's condition was so low, he was so weak that he couldn't even get up. He couldn't get up from the bed. 4 to 6 persons had to lift him just to make him sit up. And the same way he was helped to lie down again. So his condition was such even on that day. So he was made to sit up and gently put on the wheelchair. And the wheelchair was taken on the veranda, on the front veranda of the main bungalow. There is a movie also. You must have seen, I don't know whether you have. And Baba was just sitting there on the veranda. And the congregation of 200 people were sitting in the garden in front of Baba. And the first thing was that there was a big cake, birthday cake for Mera. So it was brought on the stage on a trolley. And as I brought the trolley in front of Baba, we all sang happy birthday to Mera. And Baba touched that cake. And then after about 15 minutes or so, Baba called the bride and the bridegroom. They were not married because the marriage was to be taken place the next day. So Baba called Dara and Amrit, and he gave them both the ring. And Amrit and Dara put the ring on each other's fingers. And that's how they were engaged. They put on the garland on Baba's neck and embraced Baba. Amrit embraced Baba, then Tara embraced Baba. Now I exactly forget because it's the Navjot ceremony was taken on that day or the next day. But I think it was on that day. Yes, that's right. Then after about 15 minutes or so, the 4 children were brought in front of Baba, whose Navjot ceremony was to take place. And their parents, the parents of each child, were standing behind the children. And Baba gave each child the sadra and kusti in their hands. Means Baba took one sadra and kusti and gave it in the hands of one child, then to the second child, then to the third child, like that. And then he embraced them all, one by one. And then he told their parents to go inside in the room and put on the sadra and kusti. And that's really very funny because this is a big ceremony according to our Zoroastrian religion. I mean, a priest performs the ceremony, whereas this is just for the child to say, well, my Navjot is performed, that's all. So the parents went inside, put the sadra and kusti, and they were dressed, and again brought in front of Baba. And each child gave a garland to Baba, and Baba embraced each child. And that's how the Navjot ceremony was performed by Baba. So now you understand the difference between the ceremony. It wasn't a ceremony, it was just that the children could say, and it's very amazing, but even today's children don't pay much attention to these ceremonies and sadra and kusti. Yes, it's like that after the Navjot is taken place, every child must wear sadra and kusti till they die. But here Baba's children, you see, they use that kusti as a rope to play with. I mean, there are very funny incidents how children have reacted. But at that time, Baba was in... I mean, it showed on Baba the weak health and the depressing mood that he was in. Because then those who were present there felt Baba's mood, and they all said that they all felt very sad. I mean, whenever anyone would come to Baba, one would feel very happy to be with Baba. But on those 2 days, those who were there felt very sad, very, very sad. And of course, before they came here, Baba told them all that nobody should take Baba's darshan, or that Baba would not embrace them, that they should just sit and have a look at Baba. But again, Baba in his compassion allowed each one to pass by him. I mean, he didn't want anyone to embrace him or touch his feet or touch his hand, but each one passed by in front of Baba with folded hands. And then at that time, Baba said one or two things, and the indication of what was to come. One thing he said was, he just said, you all are very lucky that you are here today in front of me, because in Pune, during the darshan time, you all will not be able to see me like this. He made the gesture from head to foot, meaning his physical body. But naturally, at that time, we thought that there will be such a rush of Baba lovers from all over the world that naturally the intimate ones would be pushed back. I mean, they thought that they would not get such a close glimpse of Baba as they did on those 2 days. So that's what everyone thought, because what else can one think about? Then another thing that he said was that the time is very near. He went on repeating that more than once. The time has come. Of course, we didn't know what he meant, but it was really very near, because it was 1.5 months later that he dropped his body. I mean, we realize the meaning of those 2 words, two things that he said, that time has come and that in Pune you won't be able to see me like this. He even said, not on those 2 days, but when he was with the Mandali, we were all very worried about his health, and we just didn't know how he would be able to give darshan in May. He was so weak in health that we just could not understand how he will be able to give the darshan in May. So one after the other started suggesting to Baba, why not postpone Baba? Why not postpone the darshan program in Pune? And Baba said, emphatically used to go on repeating, no, that darshan program must take place and will take place. So naturally in the concern all around him, the Mandli, Araj and Mani and Mera and especially Gauhar would say, but Baba, how will you be able to give darshan? It's impossible. And Baba said, it will be very easy. You will see. It will be very easy. Then at other time he was just discussing with Manli and he was just asking the opinion of others. Well, what if I give darshan lying down, reclining on the bed or on the sofa? Will that be all right? And Francis and Eraj and Pendu and Nariman, they were all there and they said, yes, Baba, it's all right. Even if you recline, and even if you lie down, it would be all right. People will be too happy to take your darshan. Darshan is important. So like that, when he dropped his body, he was lying down in the crypt of the tomb, and we realized those words. Because thousands came and took darshan of Baba during those 7 days, from 31st January to 7th February. And 7th February was the day when, according to Zoroastrian calendar, it was Baba's birthday. Zoroastrian calendar is quite different from this English calendar. I'll tell you how it's different. Every 4 years, the English calendar has a leap year, 29 days in February, whereas we don't have that leap year. So we miss 1 day every 4 years. So we are born on a day according to English and Zoroastrian calendar. But every 4 years, according to Zoroastrian calendar, our birthday goes backward. So Baba's birth date is 25th February, but according to Zoroastrian religion, in 1969, Baba's birthday was on 7th February. For the worst. 18th or 19th. Not that. You see, I have a letter. You see, I have kept certain letters that used to come from Maharaj, only with the idea that I could write down certain incidents, important incidents. And in that letter is written the exact date. I think it is 19th of November. It took a sudden turn for the worst. Because when we came in October, Baba was in a very good mood. He was weak, no doubt, but he was in a very good mood. He was more sprightly, full of joy. It's quite different in October. And suddenly in November it took that. There was another incident that happened. he used to get worse and worse and worse and worse, and Gauri used to get so worried, and she used to plead to Baba, please Baba, why don't you come to Pune so that the investigation can take place, because he stopped eating. Because he stopped eating, and he was complaining all the time of something or the other. So Gauri said, Baba, we can take you to Pune for investigation. And everything was arranged. Ambulance and Guru Prasad was kept ready and all that. And then after all the arrangements were made, Erech and Gauhar pleaded with Baba to go to Pune. And Baba emphatically said no. No, I won't go to Pune. I know what I am doing. Then Baba said that if you want me to drop my body, then you can take me to Pune. And naturally, when Baba uttered those words, everyone were helpless. I was there, and Rana was reading the Time magazine. Are you on? She was reading the Time magazine, and he would just tell me to either press his hands, arms or legs. And he used to get those terrible jerks. See, the jerks he used to get, and at that time when I felt, I can feel that he's getting those jerks, then I would just press that part so tight, so very tight. And he would be so restless, he would call Kaveh, and he would tell Kaveh, Kaveh, I'm feeling very bad inside. And he would say so many things to Kaveh, and Kaveh would just stand there, sit there helpless. Baba, you are God. You have so much to do. You have to manifest yourself. You have to break silence. You have to speak. Baba, why do you say all these things? I mean, I don't want to say what he said. Why do you say all these things? I can't do anything for you. You just now tell me what I should do. What treatment I should give you. I have no treatment. I am so helpless. I mean, those scenes was so pathetic, really. Then what happened once I was alone with Baba at about the same time, between 11 and 1, Rano and I used to be there. If I was not there, someone else would be there. But since I was here in Merazat, he would always call me to press his body. So I was just massaging his legs one day, sitting on the stool, and he was on his back, lying down. And as I was pressing his legs, suddenly there was such a jerk that my hands flew. I mean, I was massaging his leg, I was holding his leg, and the jerk was so strong in its intensity that his leg flew and my hands flew like this. And I just didn't know what was happening. I just said, Baba. And Baba just looked straight into me. Just didn't say anything, just looked straight into my eyes. But that eyes were so meaningful. I felt he wanted to say something to me. I mean, what I didn't understand, but I knew there was something. And when he dropped his body, it was just one jerk. It was the jerk, the jerks that he used to, the spasms. Actually, the spasms are the right word, not the jerks. Because you see, why I say jerk is because you see that part of his body used to just fly with a jerk. But it was the spasm that used to make him fly that part, either his hands or leg. And there was a spasm that made him drop his body. That was the last thing. I mean, it just was something there. After he dropped his body, many days, suddenly I realized what he meant. I mean, I remember that scene. Baba looking straight into my eyes, telling me something. So you know what I felt at that time? I felt that Baba wanted to convey, this is my feeling, Baba wanted to convey that just in one, there will be a spasm, and in this just one jerk, a strong jerk, I will drop my body. That's what I felt. Because I was not here present. I mean, internally we just felt out crying all the time. Tears didn't come out of our eyes. Of course it did in private, but then we felt so restless, so restless. Because of Baba's helpless condition, day in and day out, from morning till night and night to morning. I mean, we can't imagine the terrible suffering that he must have gone through. Of course, this stage of Baba's suffering, in its intensity, started ever since the beginning of new life. Before the new life, it didn't show on his physical body. The suffering that he must have suffered did not show much physically. But ever since new life, one ailment after another, one thing after another went on happening. In 1952, before the accident, he was very restless, a couple of months before. He wanted to make that trip for sure to the States in 1952. But then after the accident, we realized why he was so restless. He came to Bombay 18 days before his plane was to take off from Bombay airport. And I myself was just wondering why he came so early. But then we always, of course, don't understand why he does a certain thing. Because naturally, whenever he left for the States or any other place, he would come for a couple of days early or just 3-4 days early, but he came 18 days before. And for a week he stayed at our apartment, and then he wanted to go somewhere else. So he told Nariman, Merji and others to find a place for him where he could go and stay, where he could rest better. That's what he said, he could rest better, because he didn't want to stay in Ashiana. Ashiana is the name of our apartment. So with frantic search, naturally it was very difficult to find a place during these days, especially after the Second World War. And it was very difficult. So they found an apartment in Bandra, where there is a big church of Mary. It's called Mount Mary Church. There's a story that the statue of Mary with the child in her hand was found by a fisherman in the sea. And that fisherman did not know that it was Mary's statue. And ever since he kept that statue in that small hut, he used to prosper a lot. Somehow everyone came to know about his statue, and one priest went to his hut to see, and he knew that it was Virgin Mary and Jesus' child. So with great persuasion, he took that statue from him and built a big church over that statue. And every year, people go to that church. There's one week especially. It's a sort of a festival week for that church, and people go and they have such faith that whatever they wanted, they should just go and ask in that church, and it was fulfilled. I mean, it's the faith that does the work. But it's supposed to be a very important church in Bombay, and that's in suburbs of Bombay, not actually in the city itself. So this place, this apartment that I'm talking about, was found near that church. That place is called Bandra. Mera, Mani, Gauhar, Meru and myself went to stay in that apartment because it was a very small apartment, and others were kept in my house. In the evening, Baba went to bed early. He retired. He didn't go to sleep, but he retired early. And that apartment was right on the road and very noisy. And Baba was very restless. And he told Gawai that he can't sleep in that room, and he wanted to shift in the other room. That apartment was very small. It had only 3 rooms, three small rooms, and a porch in front. It was on the first floor. So Baba's bed was shifted from one room to the porch. So it took about half an hour, because naturally his bed was to be removed from one room to the other. Well, even there he was very restless, and after about half an hour or so, again he called Gawai and said, well, I can't sleep here, it's too noisy. Shift me to the other room. So in the second room, we all were sleeping. So we all shifted our bedding rolls from that room to the other room. And Baba's bed was again shifted from the porch to the room we were sleeping. Again Baba called Gawai and said, well, he doesn't like in this room, he's very restless and he wants to go back into his own room. So again we all shifted his bed into the room that he was sleeping, the first room that where his bed was. So his bed was again shifted to the first room, and again we all shifted our beddings into the room that Baba was occupying the third time. So like that it went on till 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the night. I mean, I just said within 2 minutes that we were shifting, but naturally we went on shifting from one room to the other and second to the third, and like a merry-go-round. But Baba was very, very restless, and after 2 or 3 o'clock, I don't exactly remember the time, Baba went to bed. Then we all caught up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we were at the breakfast table, and I saw Baba very drawn, weak, and his face was very tired. Very, very tired face. And then Baba uttered these words. By the way, I forgot one important thing. It was Easter time. It was Thursday night that we were in that apartment in Bandra. And on Friday morning was the Good Friday. That's very important. And Baba uttered these words. He said, "Tonight I pass the night of crucifixion. I have never passed such a bad night in my whole life. Naturally, when he was very restless, and then he somehow didn't like to stay in that apartment. You see, we rented that apartment for a month because nobody would give it for a few days. Baba wanted to stay in that apartment for at least 4 to 5 days. But then it seems that his work was done in that apartment. And then he said, "Come on, let's go back." And then we all went back to our apartment.
Did you get any other glimpse of Baba's suffering during that night?
Is it the suffering, when he's restless and when he's suffering, it shows on his face. It shows on his face, especially when he is with the intimate ones. Because when he is with the intimate ones, he's relaxed. And he wants to be his natural self. Therefore, when he's suffering or when he's restless or when he's in a depressed mood, it does show on his face. Not only it shows on his face, but it also shows, the restlessness also shows in his ways, in his movements. Like, I'm very restless, I can't get my sleep in this room, please shift me somewhere else. And it shows. So when we went back again to our apartment, again after 2 days, he said that he wanted to relax and he wanted another very quiet place. Very, very quiet place where there's no noise. And again everyone went out in search. Of course we women were in the apartment, but men had to run about. And they were searching and searching. And of course, because, you see, Baba wanted another place, therefore others also were able to find. Otherwise it's simply impossible to get a quiet place within a few days. It's alright if one were to have 1 or 2 months in hand to find a place. So a very quiet place, 35 miles out of Bombay town, was found. It was on the beach, Marwe beach. There was a newly built 3 big room, small cottage for the nurses of a particular hospital. If nurses fell ill and if they wanted to go for recuperation, then this small cottage was built. And it was not occupied, it was just empty. And by sheer luck, I think it was Sarosh, I don't remember, I think it was Sarosh, was able to find that place. And of course we shifted there. It was a long beach, a lonely beach. And at the end of that beach was a fishing village where only fisher folks lived. So we all shifted there, and Baba was really in a very relaxed mood. We went swimming. We women went swimming, and Baba used to love walks. Oh, how he used to love walking. So he used to walk alone on the beach, right from one end to the other. And it was such a beautiful sight. I can never forget. So beautiful. He used to go for walks in the morning, in the evening. And in the evening, there used to be sunsets. So I remember Baba in his long sadra with his flowing hair. He never used to tie his hair at that time. So with his long flowing sadra, with his hair flowing, and the sea at the back, and the sunset, Baba walking so fast. I just used to gaze and gaze at Baba, from a distance of course. He was a picture of beauty. At that time he didn't seem like a human being. He really looked something out of this world. A beauty out of this world. So of course we stayed there for a week. We rested there. The food was being sent from Bombay. My brother used to bring in the car the cooked food, and we used to have it in the afternoon and in the night. And of course, after a week's complete rest, we all went back to our apartment. But we found Baba not very happy when he left the Bombay shore. I mean, he knew what was to come. He knew about the accident. We didn't. And then I think less than a month, or maybe a month later, yes, I think a month later, he left the Bombay shore somewhere on 18th of April, and his accident was taken place somewhere on 24th or 25th of May. And there was no hopes for Meera. Meera was so badly hurt that there were absolutely no hopes for Meera. When a specialist in England saw Meera's x-rays of her head, he was surprised that that person was living. The specialist doctor said that, well, with this x-rays, I can say that it's a miracle that this person is still living. So everything that happens, we sometimes understand later why Baba was restless and depressed and why he was acting in a particular way, because he knew what was to come. He came back to Bombay after 4 months, but he was lifted from the plane to the airport because you see his leg was broken and he couldn't walk. And the sight was so painful when we saw Baba being carried from the plane to the airport. And even that accident was not as grave as the second accident in 1956. In the first accident, Baba broke his hand and legs, and of course there was so much. But then in the second accident, he broke his hip joint, from which he never recovered. And he said at that time, when after the second accident, he said that he will never recover from the painful joint. He did say that he will never be well again. I mean, after the first accident, he could walk again. And he used to go for long walks wherever he was. But after the second accident, it was very difficult for him to walk. And Baba loved walks. He loved walking. But he couldn't walk he couldn't walk to his heart's desire the way he wanted to. And after the second accident, Baba's physical body suffered more and more and more and more till the very end. And it got worse and worse.